Qatar and the opening round of the FIA World Endurance Championship for 2024. Hello, good afternoon and welcome everybody to the Losail International Circuit here in Qatar as we get ready for the start of another new era of qualifying in the World Endurance Championship. After its success as a format at Le Mans, Hyperpole arrives for the full season for the first time. And our two categories will go out for a brief qualifying foray before the top 10 then resume on track to decide the top 10 positions on the class grids. I'm Martin Haven, delighted to have alongside me in the booth Graham Goodwin and Anthony Davidson. And Anthony, we've said the last couple of years we've seen Hyperpole at Le Mans going, this is so good, so challenging for the drivers and good entertainment. And I think the fans have responded in kind, and as a result, the format has now been adopted for the whole year. Yeah, I really like the fact that it's been tweaked. We've seen how it worked at Le Mans and introduced it here, as you say, Martin, to the rest of the World Endurance Championship. And it puts pressure on the drivers to make sure you can get a good run through that first open qualifying for the class you're in, and then only that top 10 goes through to effectively a shootout later on. Graham Goodwin, for the followers who will be watching us here in Qatar, in Imola, in Spa, at Le Mans, back in Sao Paulo, at Kota, Fuji and Bahrain, the good news is that there's absolutely no chance of having any clue who's going to be on pole in either class, probably for the entire season.
It's great. It's great to be here in Qatar for an exciting new venue for the FIA World Endurance Championship. We have had new venues through the COVID era, but prior to that, 2016 at Mexico City was the last time we came to somewhere that's not seen WC or the WC family around. And you're right, there is so much that is new. New teams, new cars, new drivers, new driver combinations, new regulations, all sorts of new. We're going to go well beyond this qualifying day and the 10 hours of racing we hope to see tomorrow to explain all of that new to the audience that's joining us live around the world right now. But we can start, Martin, with this 18-car grid, 9 different makes, 11 different teams in LMGT3, a brand new era for production-based cars in the FIA World Endurance Championship. We're basically fitting an entire curriculum into an 8-race season or a 7-race season, so there's a lot to get through.
Take a look at the circuit here. This 5.38 kilometer circuit. Clockwise, we start off at turn 1. And it's an important corner to get right after the long pit straight. Braking zone takes you through that corner, hug the inside to open up turn 2. We wind our way through to the slowest speed corner on the track down at turn 6. A good overtaking opportunity come race day, but in qualifying a real key corner to get your braking point correct, minimize that locking. And then you wind through turn 10, bit of a straight before one of the fastest corners on the track now at turn 12. And that's the start of a triple sequence of corners. You can see there as we zoom out again from the track, 12, 13 and 14, really critical in qualifying. Coming up now for all of them to stay within track limits. Yes, good old track limits is a problem here, not just for getting your lap time deleted if you go all 4 wheels over the white line, but for potentially damaging your car on those very severe curbs.
So some of the new names climbing aboard these spectacular LMGT3 cars. 18 cars we're going to see in this session. 9 per make, as I say, and 2 makes with a team apiece. We'll come on to all of that. United Autosports, big part of the FIA World Endurance Championship in recent years. They're now defunct for the championship, still will be at Le Mans LMP2 class. They're here with the McLaren 720S Evos, fabulous looking beasts, this turbo V8 powered mid-rear engined car. Here's one of the brand new cars for 2024, the brand new Ford Mustang GT3.
You like this car, don't you, Graham?
I think it's great. The great thing about this class is there's so much difference. That's a big normally aspirated V8. This is the other normally aspirated V8 car, the oldest concept on the grid, the Lexus RCF GT3.
So you're probably the best person to explain this, Graham. GTE from last year has gone. It's now GT3, LMGT3 to give it its proper official name. What's the biggest difference that we're looking at here?
The biggest difference is about the way in which they manage the all-important balanced performance. Balanced performance can be quite a divisive task, but what it's given us is the opportunity for this level of variety, and for the fact that we'll maintain that level of variety because the cars, no matter what their basic performance levels as a road car, can be put into a performance window where you can tweak and make sure that everybody stays in that window.
You mentioned road car, the road car platform.
Production-based.
So production, that is the key difference really in terms of the equipment they have here, more road car based compared to the kind of like semi-prototype in a way.
It is
GT3, just GTE category from old.
So a couple of other important differences. There are some very tiny differences in terms of the aerodynamic packs that are going to be on these cars to get them into the performance window for the FIA World Endurance Championship. But for those listening and watching, there's another key difference, particularly for those watching, because as you'll see when we get to the race tomorrow, the way in which performance is monitored live by the powers that be here at the FIA WEC to make sure the cars are obeying the rules also gives us an opportunity to show you how much power and energy they are using. So if anybody that's joining us for the second year will have remembered the NRG readout we saw for the hypercars last year, we're going to have that this year. If they're fuel saving, we'll know it, and so will you at home.
Minutes away from the start of the first qualifying session of a new year, and this might be the first indication that we get of who has what in terms of pace here in the Losail International Circuit in Qatar, rather than for the entire season. And a new group of cars and a new tyre supplier for GT with Goodyear. So the Goodyear Eagles, Goodyear are bringing, or have potentially, a choice of two different types of slick tyre as well as the wet tyre, and they will bring them depending on the track that we are going to. So they will be track dependent. The teams, unlike in Formula One, won't be compelled to use both compounds. They won't have the choice, I don't think, in most instances, of going for medium or medium plus. Goodyear will supply a tyre to each of the teams that is the same, but is designed to work with the circuit. And we heard from Micah Goodyear during our free practice, which you can find and watch again online on the FIA WEC YouTube site, talking about designing these tyres. You know, are they related to last year's LMP2 tyres? No, they absolutely are not related in any way. The key element for the drivers, Graham Goodwin, is the hurry-up offense. There are no tyre warmers.
Nope.
The tyres need to be heated.
Yep.
So that's a lap. That's an out lap. You've got to get it sorted out. But you've only got, as you can see from the clock, the Rolex clock above the pit exit, 12 minutes. It's
1 minute, under 1
pressure.
minute to start LMGT3 qualifying session.
You're right.
Any lap which is noted or reported as being done beyond track limits will be within the possibilities immediately deleted.
Now I can talk. So what that means is 12 minutes to get it done. 12 minutes to whittle 18 cars down to 10 cars, and then it's Hyperpole. I'm going to be interrupted by Eduardo in a moment or two because we're going to go live very shortly. What a cracking looking livery that is on that car from Mercedes ASP. Arnold Raban aboard the 78 car. Recognisable, by the way, from its sister car. The 78 has got the white pillars and the white streaks across the bonnet.
Now, easy to tell the difference between the two Mustangs. One's black and gold, one's bright blue. Easy to tell the difference between the two Porsches. One's orange and black, one's white with a few yellow highlights. So some of them we're going to spot really quite easily. Some of the teams running two cars that are identical. You know, McLaren, the two McLarens are very close in livery. They're both black and mango. So, and the two Corvettes, one's got a yellow nose. You can see it coming out there, the fourth car out. The other one is the same livery, but reversed. It's a negative of it, so it's got a black nose. You can see it coming out there with a yellow band across the centre of the roof space.
And gentlemen, we are into the sessions now count for points and glory.
Yep.
Qualifying begins for what I think is going to prove to be an historic season for the FIA World Endurance Championship. It is almost all new. It is quite remarkable. And one of our carryovers, it's not the car, it's not the team, Sarah Bovey, so much a part of the real excitement we saw in GTM over the last couple of seasons, and those duels with Ben Keating in the Corvette, epic. What can the Iron Dames do in their Lamborghini?
And the man we just saw there, Ahmed Al-Hati, who was pole position at Spa-Francorchamps in his Aston Martin as well. Now he's changed, he's still in GT, but he's changed from the Aston Martin team, so he's now driving one of those Lexus. James Cottingham, runner-up in the British GT Championship, stretching his legs on the international circuit the first time in a United Autosports run McLaren. So again, first time we've seen United Autosports running McLaren GT cars anywhere, so there's all sorts of new combinations. They're going to have to learn the car, the circuit, the rules, the drivers, and the team will have to start working as a GT unit rather than, you know, as a test base or a part of a Formula 1 offshoot.
Let's introduce the 18 drivers that we're going to be seeing for the remainder of the season in this LMGT3 class. In the number 27, Heart of Racing Aston Martin, Ian James, title-winning form in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Darren Leung, the reigning British GT champion in the number 31 Team WRT car. Ahmed Al-Hati from Oman, and Ahmed with pole-setting form in LMP2 cars and race-winning form in GT3s as well. Thomas Floor, a race winner last year in GTE in the 54 Vista F Corsa car. Francois Heriot transitions to GT racing from LMP2. James Cottingham, in the McLaren you mentioned, is the man that got involved in that title battle with Darren Leung last year in the British GT Championship. And for the moment, for the first 7, Claudio Schiavone returns again in another new car, third different car in the last 3 seasons, and we'll deal with the rest of them as we get them on screen.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to, actually, because there are so many and so many stories to tell. Don't forget, if you're watching live on Broadcast Network at the moment, you can catch up with all of the previous season's action, our full access program on the FIA WC YouTube site, and do take a look at the FIA WC app as well. That will allow you to have audio streaming, live video streaming of the entire race, uninterrupted and advert-free. Afraid you still get us, but you know, that's the joy of the internet. If you're watching this delayed, again, if you've caught up with this overnight or during the daytime, wherever you're watching, then again, you can watch the race on the app. It will be live, flag to flag, lights to flag, plus before and after. The race starts at 11 local time, 0800 GMT. And we will have a pre-race show and post-race show as well. So lots of content on the app, lots of features on the drivers, the cars, and they will be increasing during the season as well. We have so many stories to tell.
Another of the drivers we can introduce is the man at the wheel of the number 78 Akkodis ASP Lexus RCF, and that is Arnaud Raban, another title winner, Michelin Le Mans Cup title winner. That was track limits there, Anthony.
Yeah, straight off in turn 12, and so that lap will be deleted. But you shouldn't expect the fastest laps coming straight away around this track. I think they're betting themselves in, particularly with all due respect, the bronze drivers, so the lowest rated drivers out there, they generally tend to get into the groove later on in the session, especially the lesser experienced drivers out of this bronze category that we have at the moment.
This is the new Corvette Z06 GT3R. Yes, we had a Corvette last year. That was the C8R, the GTE car. Put them side by side, and what you'll see, it almost looks as if the Corvette's been slightly shrink-wrapped. It's a little less muscular, but this is a car that's been designed from the very start as a customer offering. The 2 Vista F Corsa Ferrari 296 almost side by side there. This is Ferrari's new weapon in global GT racing. V6 turbo powered. And
already a winner, won the Nürburgring 24 hours in the middle of last summer. So a very quick, very potent car right out of the box. And as you said earlier, the LMGT3 rule set is very slightly tweaked from the normal FIA GT3 because these cars have to survive Le Mans. Not a 1-hour sprint, not a 2-hour or 4-hour endurance race. These cars have to survive Le Mans, and so there are certain details about the aero packages and the way the engines, the transmissions, the gearbox and so on are worked that are allowed to be modified for that specific set of demands that Le Mans brings.
Well, the 2 cars we've just seen, the Ferrari 296, that's a car that debuted last year in customer hands. This car, the Lexus RCF, debuted in 2016. You would guess that there's been some aerodynamic progress since then, and indeed some of these cars have needed a little bit of work. Not a huge Evo kit, but a little bit of work. This is not one of the 3 new cars we've got in the WC this season. It's a new chassis, new build, but the Aston Martin, a brand new 2024 version of that fabulous car. The Corvette we've already seen, and we briefly saw the Mustang as well, all brand new for 2024.
Now, a new bit of livery as well, a new bit of graphic as well. We haven't seen this before. Drivers at risk. So in the drop zone, and there you go. He's just dropped out the 777D station car. Now that is being driven by Clément Mathieu. And again, some of the liveries, some of the names you'll recognise remain. So D station is not now a Ford or a Porsche or a Lamborghini or something. D station is remarkably still an Aston Martin, so that's not a pound in the jar. And the other Aston Martin is also a familiar colour, Heart of Racing, who ran in those colours last year. That is still an Aston.
Now we switch from talking about the new to talking about the speed. It's 1:55.634 for Tom van Rompuy in the TF Sport number 81 Corvette.
Oh, well done.
Thank you. Ian James, second quickest in the 27 Heart of Racing Aston Martin. 6/10 off that, with a further 10 back Josh Cahill in the first of the United Autosports McLarens, and they are 3-4 at the moment, 5 minutes to go. And when we said quick fire, we meant it.
Thomas Floor on a flyer, looked like a second quickest lap. It was indeed for the 54 car. Here's Clément Mathieu. Best first sector. Purple means quicker than anybody else in sector 2. However, behind him, the white Porsche with the yellow highlights, the pure racing car, that is going quicker in both sectors. But again, look at the tiny margins. 68 thousandths, 88 thousandths. I mean, we are talking tiny margins as D Station go from being out to top.
Yeah, D Station's Aston Martin, run last year by TF Sport, go top. TF Sport's new car, the Corvette, is second. It is 15 thousandths of a second between first and second. It's now 8 thousandths because Clément Mathieu has been leapfrogged by Alexander Melikin in the Mansai Pure Racing 92 Porsche.
Now the first 4 cars are covered by half of 1/10 of a second, 55 thousandths. That's ridiculously tight, and they're 4 different manufacturers.
Exactly. Exactly so. 55 thousandths of a second it is between the top 4. Ian James is on a quick one, but
he was.
poor middle sector.
Yeah. Looks like he might have run out wide and gone off, maybe corner 5, 6, 7, somewhere like that.
He did put together the fastest first sector, as you can see on the screen there, but it's all gone away from him in the middle of the lap somewhere.
Pit
we didn't quite see it.
That is the Almondal Harty car. That is the 46 car that has not set a flying lap.
No, Team WRT's BMW. Also Ryan Hardwick in the Proton Ford. That's the pale turquoise
Did
car.
not go out.
Didn't go out, okay.
So we are 16 runners for 10 available places in the Hyperpole, unless Almondal Harty can get this car back out and start a flying lap. He's at real risk of losing out here. Clément Mathieu pushing hard. He's more than a 10th up in the first sector, down on his best time, but only by a tiny margin
that might be
the second.
That might be a rear view mirror, a rewind there, because
that was
that had all the hallmarks of being 4 tyres off outside the white line.
I think he might have.
Not sure if there was chalk dust.
Yeah, he might have just kept it in. I mean, but you're really playing with fire there. If you go out too wide, that's an easy track limit to get wrong as he comes up to the line now.
It's a great looking lap aside from that, and as he comes across the line, 74,000. Look at that, 8 thousandths first to second.
Yeah, that's no improvement though from Mathieu.
No.
So Al Harty's back out there, creeps
Yeah.
out on the BMW through turn 1, stays out of the way nicely of the D Station 777 car.
Watching Ian James, he's on a quick lap at the moment, is up on the pole time. Sarah Bovey on a quick one too, as is James Cottingham in the McLaren. So McLaren, Lamborghini and Aston Martin all capable here on the laps they're currently on of putting this pole time from Alexander Melikin under threat. 2 minutes to go.
Still plenty of personal best sectors out there. So, like I mentioned before, these drivers will naturally be getting faster and faster as they get themselves back into the groove. FP3 was quite a long time ago now, a couple of hours ago, and it just that reset that you have, track conditions change as well, the sun's getting lower, and when you're a bronze category driver, you can't just switch it on as naturally as a professional, silver, as a gold or platinum driver could do.
We have 9 cars within a single second. It's 1 minute and 40 seconds on the clock.
There is the 87 Lexus. Where did that end up? It is still down in 15th place.
Tom Van Rompuy has bailed out. He is third in this session. Looks safe at the moment to be in the top 10. Malikin, Mathieu, Van Rompuy, Fleur, James, Cottingham, Bovey, Cahill, Erio and Roda, the top 10 at the moment.
I would say down to 7th, you're definitely safe. Nobody's going to find a full second, and not 7 cars are going to find a full second. But below that, well, what about this man, Yasser Shaheen?
He's on track to find a full second.
Now he's moved up to 12th.
And he's on a quicker lap again, Yasser Shaheen, so he's finding, exactly as Anthony said, he is finding that speed as they get deeper into this session. And they did use some of the test sessions in Prologue to get these guys up to speed and on qualifying simulations. Ian James on a lap, you're saying, Anthony, that's looking as if it could put him in with potential to go through to Hyperpole with the quickest time.
Shaheen on car number 91 that we're riding on board with now did definitely go off in turn 12, so that lap will be deleted. But yeah, like you say, Ian James flying out there for now, at least through the first sector, fastest of all. Just waiting to see what he can do in the middle sector, because that's where it all went wrong last time around.
You see the graphic over the Manthey EMA 91 car, lap cancelled for track limits, so it's almost instantaneous. They just review the footage. Yeah, Ping, he's gone.
A personal
4
best.
seconds.
Personal best for James in the heart of racing car in the middle sector as Jose Maria Lopez watches on.
Why is he watching on this session? Because he is now a Lexus GT3 driver, so he's having a whole new third different career after World Tour, 4th or 5th after single-seaters, World Touring cars, and then Ahmed Al-Hati on a pole lap for Team WRT in the 46 car that he shares with Maxime Martin and Valentino Rossi.
Ian James to the top.
James to the top of the pile. He is done. Alexander Malikin second. Clement Mathieu third. Is Tom Van Rompuy in the pit lane. So who's got a lap? Potentially Thomas Floor. Doesn't look like it's going to be a huge improvement. Anybody outside? Yeah, Yasser Shaheen did not get across the line in time. Ahmed Al-Hati did, and
Yasser Shaheen did get across the line in time.
No, because he was when he had his penalty.
This is such an important lap for Al-Hati here, running second to last at the moment as we speak.
The car
5 tenths away by the middle sector.
But also puts one of the Ferraris and one of the Corvettes at risk here.
Here we go, exits the final corner. What have you got?
The WRT.
Was it enough? It is enough.
Yes, it is. Gone from hero to zero. They're in the... And that is a great job for WRT's BMW crew.
So Hiroshi Kazumi is through. We've still not seen the Manthey EMA car of Yasser Shaheen. He's in the bubble here, you know. He's 6 tenths off the fastest time. I need to stop saying pole times. It's not pole position. He needs to keep this pace in the third sector, and if he does, he'll be in the top 10, and Francois Heriot will not be.
Yeah,
and keep it within,
clean.
And keep it, like you say, must keep it within the track limits, which he does in that final corner there. What's he going to be this time around?
7 tenths back is Sarah Bovey, 7th quickest.
Not enough.
Not enough. So it went away. So it went from 0.6 back, 0.6 back, 1.3 back. The tyres went away dramatically in the final sector, didn't they? So he does not get through.
Thomas Loudon back there in the Manthey garage, keeping an eye on proceedings here. Well, that works, doesn't it, as a format? They were pushing hard, and we're going to see this throughout this season.
I tell you what, it's going to be absolutely frantic, isn't it? So what happens now is all the cars go back into the pit lane. The 10 who are going out in Hyperpole will be prepped by the teams and ready to go again, while Hypercar go out with the full field for their dozen minutes. So again, they've looked at the format and gone, well, that's going to leave a lot of gaps if we just then go wait for Hyperpole, then go again. So we're flip-flopping our 2 classes. So that's the way that's going to work. We'll now have the individual or the full field session for Hypercar, then Hyperpole for GT3, then Hyperpole for Hypercar. Too many hypers in that sentence.
Lots of hyper.
Don't worry, we'll edit that out in rehearsals.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because we're not hyper at all.
No.
There's no hyper whatsoever.
There's no excitement whatsoever about this season.
Are there any more superlatives after hyper? I don't know, like...
Ultra hyper.
Ultra, mega, hyper. car and pole.
Thank you to the BMW Team WRT's WhatsApp group for an instant response. What's the problem with the 46 car? Lack of power to the car, further info to come. So he was, didn't seem like in the final, and maybe that's why he came into the pit lane. It's just not producing the power.
One of the biggest surprises for me was this car here with the Iron Dames of Sarah Bovey, a regular pole position sitter.
Yeah, but don't forget, this is just getting into the top 10.
No, absolutely, but I'm surprised that she didn't just sail through. So finishing P7 there, you know, you're close to being on the cusp of going out. And like I say, this was a regular front qualifier and pole position qualifier driver. Maybe just, you know, a change of car. She's in the Lamborghini now, a GT3, not a GTE platform. Maybe the track doesn't suit her quite as well. I don't know what happened during that run, but clearly
it has been a difficult adaptation for. Let's go through the top 10. It is Ian James in the heart of racing, 27 Aston Martin from the 92 Montai Pure Racing Porsche, and then the third is the second Aston Martin, the 777 D-Station car.
So our GT3 cars are back in pit lane. Teams of the fastest 10 will be getting to grips with them. I'm going to just take a little photo of the screen because that will disappear immediately. So you can do this at home.
Here's the new look for 2024 Totas. While we're waiting for the hypercars to take to the track, we're going to be going down to pit lane to United Autosports and their fabulous looking McLaren 720S GT3s, and it's going to be James Cottingham.
James, how did it go? What were you expecting? Or you whereabouts? Were you thinking you're going to be out or qualified?
Yeah, it was always going to be a bit of a discovery after this session to see where we really sit, because obviously over the weekend you don't know who's running new and whether they have traffic and things like that. So no, I'm really pleased that, you know, to get through to Hyperpole, which will be my first time doing a Hyperpole, so I'm quite excited about that. I just want to quickly get my thoughts together and work out how I can try and at least bridge the gap a little bit towards the front of the grid. But we're close, and it's a good place to be so far, so really happy.
Looking forward to the race. Can you think you can squeeze a little bit more for the Hyperpole?
Yeah, I reckon there's a bit left in the tank for sure. It's just about stringing a lap together here. It's a really tricky, complex circuit to sort of piece together a mega one lap. So yeah, I think I can. It's just all about doing that.
Okay, fingers crossed for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Bruce Giuani in the pit lane, as those of you who watched Free Practice 3 earlier on will know. Bruce joining the team this season. Louise Beckett is down in the pit lane as well here. She'll be back definitely for Le Mans, possibly for a couple of others, but young Pearl back at home needs her mum rather more than we do. We're big boys, and much as we would love to have her at every race, she will be at some of them. So Bruce will be here for the entire season.
As will the Green Meanie here. That is the new Lamborghini SC63, making its global debut. Here. This is another debuting car, global debut for the Alpine A424. Pair of these cars.
It looks good.
It does look good, and it sounds great as well. It's got a bit of a scream to it, this one.
This car is on the Orica base chassis, which we didn't have in WEC last year. It raced in the US, but it makes its debut here in the World Endurance Championship this season.
Any major track limit violations on that run for the GTs?
Yes, there's about 10 track limits, turn 15 mostly, 14, 13, 12, turn 2.
That's good. The driver just asking with his engineer, right, where are they looking? I mean, they're looking everywhere for track limits, of course, around here. And it's easier to run off the circuit in the GT cars. You've got a higher ride height than these prototypes, the hypercars. You will damage your car. So there's that natural element, that self-policing element that's there, but it's still nice to check with your engineer which corners kept catching drivers out there. So he's now fully aware.
Hypercars lined up for qualifying for the first 12-minute period of qualifying, and some tyre discrepancies. They're all on Michelin tyres. They have a chance to use one of two different compounds. M, the little yellow pattern you can see on both of those BMW tyres, the medium tyre, we saw on one of the first cars that we saw, don't remember which it was, had hard tyres on, and then we went to the Penske Porsche which had mediums. Now, we will get some of those. As the cars go out, the identification of the driver in the car will become clear. At the moment on our timing screen, it just has the first driver who's listed, not necessarily the one who's actually going out, but Yefei, the new signing for Ferrari, will be one of their qualifying drivers. Nick de Vries in the number 7 Toyota. Toyota with a new look, because they're the baddies. They've gone matte black.
Yep, they have indeed.
We now discover that the red, white and black that they had previously on the car was essentially that red and white black GR racing logo if you looked from above, which obviously we never did. From space.
Basically. Just to take a moment here, 19 cars out in this top class.
Yep.
And they're battling, almost half of these will not be going on to Hyperpole. This is where it starts getting interesting. This is race 1, this is qualifying 1 of race 1. We're going to start to see these cars finding their pace. Who's got it now? We're going to find out in the next 12 minutes.
Well, Anthony, who should we see? I'm assuming, as a punter, that we should see all of the cars that were competing last year, because they'll have more of a handle on the car, the tyre and everything else. Is that logical?
It is logical, but a lot changes over the winter in terms of performance of the cars. And I think, you know, new teams coming in, we say new team like Alpine, but they're such an established team, ran many years in the old LMP1 category and then LMP2 as well. They know what they're doing. As we see the cars really squirming around, remember, no tyre warmers here, and it seems to affect the hypercars, the prototypes, a lot more than it does with the GT cars as well. All of these cars are on the Michelin tyre, the GTs all on the Goodyears. We look back at Jenson Button, makes his return to the World Endurance Championship, but this will be his first ever season-long campaign in the WEC. And
making it clear that that's not a single season deal either. So Jenson is looking to the longer term with Hypercar.
What about Sam Hignet's Jota team? The first team to get their hands on a customer Porsche in the new era. They sign a relatively well-known global brand as a sponsor, and then they go out and hoopla Jenson Button in. I mean, there is literally no limit to their ambition. They've now got a pair of Porsches. Last year they had the single Porsche from Spa onwards, and then they were running the LMP2 car. Now it is all about Hypercar. So I mean, and that's it. You know, there's all these teams that have come up through sports car racing that are now duking it out with giants like Ferrari at the world level.
And Hertz Team Jota were taking names in the very first race. They led their first race. They led at Le Mans. They're not here to win the privateer class. They're here to win.
Just seeing this riding on board with the Lamborghini of Danny Kvyat. He steps up from LMP2 to the Hypercar category, and they're on the soft tyre, interestingly. So you spotted the BMW on the mediums, Lamborghini on the red soft tyre.
Oh, that's the hard.
Everyone has a bit more grip on me at the moment. I need to bring tyre temp.
Need to bring tyre temp. Yeah, the red is hard, and the way I remember it is red is hottest, and that's what you use the hard tyre for. Yellow is less hot, apart from when it's the sun, and that's the medium tyre.
Quick word as we look at Callum Miller, one of our newbies for the full season of the FIA World Endurance Championship. It is 9, would you believe, WC rookies in the championship this year, plus Callum, who has raced at Le Mans, albeit in the GT car. He's out there, as is Jenson Button in the sister car. He has just gone quickest.
And Stoffel Van Dorn, he's right on board with now on the Peugeot number 94. Been a bit of a mix-up with the driver allocations at Peugeot, and Stoffel now finds himself behind the wheel. He drove one race last year at Fuji, replacing Nico Müller after an injury, but he's there now full-time, so interesting to see what Van Dorn can do in that car.
Let's do black car, white car. Black, Toyota. The Peugeot is still the same sort of white front and that cascade of rainbow down the back. And we were just looking at the Lamborghini, which is a very handy Lamborghini production. Lime green colour makes that stand out. it's going to take us a while to start identifying the 6 and 5, the 2 Porsches, 6 with the white stripes up the nose, 5 with the black stripes up the nose and over the roof. So they remain the same as they were last year. But again, like the Jota cars, we thought in free practice they looked like the Cadillac, an awful more of a stable race car perhaps, and they have tested here, Porsche. They came here at the end of last year and tested here, so they've got a little bit more under their belt about this track as well.
Here's where we're going to start to see the big leaps in performance. 1:47.3 is the quickest time of this session so far, with 6.5 minutes remaining, but we've seen cars dipping under 1:40 in free practice, so the times are going to come a tumbling, and we can see that already with first sector times, Anthony, 2 seconds quicker than they were last time around.
So I was speaking to some of the teams and the tyre manufacturers, some people from Michelin, and they were saying that they're going to ease these tyres in. Remember that you have to use these tyres in the race, not to start with necessarily, but they are a set of tyres that you're going to take into the race. So you don't want to grain them. You don't want to. What they're experiencing here on cold tyres, they're experiencing a little bit of graining from the tyres if you overpush them too early on. So I'm expecting this to happen. All the drivers just bedding themselves in, bedding the tyres in more importantly, and those fastest lap times will come right close to the end of this session.
Well, Hertz Team Jota 1-2, the 50 Ferrari and the 51 car both popped into the top 10. Slowing down is everybody's slowing down to find a bit of space. The Fat Turbo Express, that's the 99 Proton car, so that's a Proton Porsche.
And I wondered if this was going to happen, guys, because I did suspect, with the field being the biggest we've ever seen, 19 cars out there in Hypercar, they have to give themselves a bit of space these days. That was never a problem in the past.
Never.
There just weren't enough, physically weren't enough cars out on track. And on top of that, this circuit being quite high speed, lots of medium and high speed corners here, you want to give yourself a bit of free air to get the maximum efficiency from the downforce of the car.
Looking at 5 cars at the moment in the top 6, then the first sector times are within thousandths of a predicted lap time at the top of these timing screens. 5 minutes to go. It is a Hertz Team Jota 1-2,
but look
there's
at
still
the gap.
But the times are going to tumble again here. Callum Miller already 3.2 seconds up on Jenson Button's time after the second sector. It's going to be sub 140.
Yeah, and Button on his current lap is only 2 3/4 seconds up on his previous best, and in third fastest, Antonio Fuoco is already 3 seconds up. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be fire emoji, isn't it? Rather than anything else.
Button a 140.719. Illett goes to the top now with a 140.228, so half a second quicker than Jenson Button. Matt Campbell is one to watch here. He is looking to go under 140 if he can deliver the performance of the car that's in the background there.
Predicted not to be 142.28.
It's 139,
wow.
757.
Okay.
Matt Campbell
So
on the back of a Daytona 24 Hours win and on the back of a win at the Bathurst 12 Hours. So Nick de Vries going through second.
Yeah, second. Unfortunately, Toyota's team boss suggesting that it was highly unlikely they'd even manage to get a point here. So that's obviously a fluctuation in performance that they weren't expecting.
It'll be fine. They'll be back to that form.
Kevin Estra.
Kevin Estra is
screen.
and it's up on the current session leading time. We are going to have to train ourselves not to say poles.
But a big mistake
that was
there.
a big twitch.
That's in turn 12, isn't it? Like I said, on the track guide, the first high-speed apex of that triple right-hander, and the rear really let go there in that Porsche number 6. So. Yeah, huge. He did well to keep that thing pointing in the right direction.
Well, and didn't exceed track limits, so it's still a legal lap, so it'll still be a half-decent lap when he's completed it.
By the way,
I don't think it will. He's lost way too much time there.
If you're a fan of the tailless 9X8, enjoy it today and tomorrow, because this may well be the last time you see it. The new car is due at Imola, round 2.
But we don't actually know what the back of the car will look like. We don't know if it's going to have a great big wing, so we'll wait to see.
Sorry, Master, here's that moment. Just on turning, the rear lets go. This is a really important lap.
Yeah.
Well, these next couple of laps with Kevin Estra, because he's sitting 19th last at the moment.
Illett to the top of the timing and scoring. He's shaved 43 thousandths out of Matt Campbell, but Campbell is way up on that time on this next lap for the number 5 car.
6/10 up Matt Campbell at the moment. The young BMW, young Porsche driver from New Zealand goes to the top of the pile by 56 hundredths, a 39.1. We'll be in the 38s in Hyperpole.
And Nick de Vries, meanwhile, he has contract limits on his first sector. The next lap he will not improve. Matt Campbell goes to the top and is 5.56 of a second ahead of Caramella, 1:39.154. 2 minutes to go. Who's on the bubble here? It is Antonio Giovinazzi is currently 11th. Julien Landler, Nico Lapierre, Raffaele Marciello.
Number 2 caddy. Now,
yeah, this is an important lap for Alex Lynn here, as we see on screen, works his way through turn 3 before the double right-hander of 4 and 5. And they've been really one of the teams setting the pace in all the free practice sessions. So I'm surprised to see them down there, like you say, Martin, on the bubble in 9th.
And he's actually chasing the 51 Ferrari. That was the car in front of him as we follow them from high in the air. So both of those need a good run. Sort of going according to plan. Apart from Proton being in 12th place, all the new cars predominantly are not in there at the moment. Apart, well, there you go. None of the new cars are in there at the moment.
Giovinazzi piles in there and he pops up in 12th place there.
Yeah, that wasn't him. That was the number 8.
Estra's up in 5th.
Oh yes, there we go.
Finally got that lap together.
Yeah.
After that moment we saw from Estra in that corner there.
So all of the top 10 now are teams with cars that were here in the FIA World Endurance Championship last season.
51 Ferrari is not in yet. So they are under pressure, and it's them or the caddy that's right behind, and the caddy is right on the bubble, and the Ferrari needs to find 2-3 tenths, which is not a massive margin.
Both Alex Lynn, who's in the caddy number 2, and Antonio Giovinazzi, they've both set personal best in the first and second sectors.
Giovinazzi is into the Hyperpole.
For how long?
He's 7th quickest here, but look at the gaps behind, it's tiny. And now on the bubble, it's Brendan Hartley.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for Cadillac fans out there, that was a good lap from Alex Lynn, and it wasn't enough to get him through into the top 10 so far. And that's a big surprise to me.
Nick de Vries goes second again with a session best.
Fastest last sector as well for de Vries.
The 83 AF Corsa, that's the yellow Ferrari, has moved up but not in. Checkered flag is out. It's these or none. So Nico Lapierre in the 36 Alpine.
Not quite enough.
Not enough.
Just sits behind the AF Corsa.
Alex
Ferrari.
Lynn's on a quick lap here. Sheldon van der Linde was on a quick lap, but he's not improved enough.
Paul Chatin, a better lap for the car, not on target to be quick enough.
Alex Lynn sets another personal best in that first sector.
And look at Julien Landler as well in the Proton car. He's racing 2. Could it be 2 cars nerfed out here? And if it is, it would be Jensen Button and Brendan Hartley. There'd be 2 big scalps.
Yeah, well, Jensen's in the pit lane in the 38 Hertz Team Jota Porsche. So on the bubble, really in the drop zone is Brendan Hartley. If either of those laps come together, there goes the yellow Ferrari.
FIA is on target to get into the top 10 here. So is Alex Lynn, so is Julien Landler, and so is Danny Kvyat.
Yeah, Alex Lynn, personal best middle sector as well.
Yeah,
Ferrari pulls into the pit lane and leaves the track open for Alex Lynn. He's got a free run to the checkered flag.
Yeah. And boom, he's in 7th. The number 8 Toyota is out and parked. 38 now of Jensen Button is in danger.
That was a bit too close to read on the faces of his teammates El Bamber and Sebastian Bourdais. That was a little bit late, Alex.
What can Anlo do?
51 in the pit lane as well.
The 99 car cannot do it.
And in the background, the 83, the AF Corsa Ferrari. How close is that going to be? On board with Danny Kvyat just behind. Does 83 move up?
He does not.
No improvement on that lap.
No improvement for Danny Kvyat. And I think that's all she wrote. The Isotta Fraschini, which we've not mentioned in this session, but is bottom of this session, but with the best time we've seen from that car all week, a 1:43.189 for Jean-Carl Vernet. Another brand new car here, of course.
4 seconds off the pace is huge. It's almost a different category.
So new.
Brand new car. Team have not run in Hypercar before, have not run a factory car before. Duquesne Engineering, they have only ever run LMP2, LMP3 cars, where you receive a pre-tested, pre-built package. And they were saying it is such a complex car. In the center of the truss there at Alpine, Philippe Signeux.
And Mick Schumacher, you can see the eagle-eyed view there in the foreground, watching on his Alpine car. I mean, how exciting was that, though?
I know.
It just really adds that extra bit of spice, doesn't it, and tension for drivers trying to get into that top 10.
It is 6 different teams in the top 10, and both cars from Hertz Team Jota make it through, from Porsche Penske Motorsport make it through.
But the big story, I guess,
is Brendan Hartley.
I know you mentioned Brendan Hartley. I cannot believe that you got one of the cars up there, Nick de Vries in P2, and Brendan Hartley, who's a really good qualifier. I don't know what happened in that session, but not making it through to the final 10.
Both factory Ferraris through, and both of the Peugeots are through to the top 10.
Who would have thought that last year?
Wow.
This time last year.
There it is. Martin?
Yeah, so Toyota, one of their 2 cars through, but Hertz Team Jota getting both privateers. The privateer Ferrari came close, but not quite close enough. The 2 red Ferrari AF Corsa cars are there in the top 10. And yeah, both Peugeots. The Peugeot looks a very comfortable car here. Outside the 10, TGR, the number 8 car, the privateer AF Corsa Ferrari, Proton's privateer Porsche, the 2 Alpine, the 2 BMWs, the Lamborghini and the Isotta. Now, if you had to draw a line, then I would say from 12th down, those are the cars I would have predicted not to be in. The other 2 of the teams that had run cars, that's an absolute lottery.
Nico, that was a really good effort, but just outside of the Hyperpole. How was it?
Yeah, it was very close. I mean, we are still learning, and I was very happy with the balance of the car and the progress we made through the weekend so far. So I'm really looking forward to the race tomorrow, you know, and I think we can be happy. You know, there are only big teams and big names out there, so it's really hard to come and just to outperform them. So we have to be happy with the P12, even though I would have preferred to go to this exciting Hyperpole, but now we're going to watch from TV.
Okay, good luck for tomorrow. Thanks.
Thank you, Brice. Thank you.
Nico Lapierre, the stalwart of the World Endurance Championship, such an experienced driver. He's driven in the LMP1 category, long time in LMP2 as well. Le Mans winner in LMP2, of course, and a race winner in LMP1. So I'm sure he would have got everything out of that Alpine car in that qualifying session. So he's saying, look, we're a new team here, arriving as experienced as we all are at Alpine. We're still new to this, and we're only going to get better. As Brendan Hartley, unbelievably, doesn't make it through and climbs out of that number 8 Toyota.
The last time Hartley didn't make it through in qualifying was because he crashed on the Al-Lap at Spa on stone cold tyres on a really wet and greasy track. So that is unexpected, to say the least. So phase 1 has been done for Hypercar. Run, Louise, run like the wind. Phase 1 has been done by GT3. Poor Louise.
I thought it was a young gazelle for a moment.
There's always a bus coming along. And now we go into Hyperpole for GT3. So the rules remain the same. It is still the bronze-rated driver in each car who goes out to qualify it. So it is peer versus peer. You are racing against drivers at the same perceived level as yourself.
And this is a great moment for the drivers, particularly the bronze drivers. They've been out there, as we watch back at Sarah Bovey, they've been out there, they've got through to the top 10 shootout, this Hyperpole session coming up, and you can now start to iron out the problems based on the conditions, the car you've just been driving, and you always analyze, you're always thinking about the perfect lap before you go out on the circuit, and they can now have the luxury of thinking back to everything that didn't go quite right on their previous go. Yes, they've made it through to the top 10. It's a really nice moment. You slap another brand new set of tyres on. It's a reset. You go again, but you've got all that knowledge of what you've just done. And you will always pretty much extract another couple of tenths out of yourself at least.
So, yeah, great opportunity for the bronze-rated drivers to just go out and absolutely rag the car to within an inch of its life, and that's what it's all about.
So it's 7 of the original 9 makes make it through to Hyperpole with at least one car. Just Ford and Lexus not represented in the cars lining up now at the end of pit lane. 10 minutes of pressure to come here for these bronze drivers, some of whom are absolute rookies to the World Endurance Championship. This is a big, big day for them.
Well, let's catch up with Louise Beckett. She was legging it up to Toyota Gazoo Racing because the big story in Hypercar is Brendan Hartley.
Brendan Hartley's, the number 8, is in just missing out on the Hyperpole. It looks like we're going to have to go. I don't know what's happening with the team, but obviously the officials are talking to the team, and Rob's taken Brendan away. So we'll find out what's going on and come back to you.
I wonder if that was a call for him to be getting his helmet back on.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Just also be very aware that now every single one of the hypercars, of course, has the red light, green light, so it may just have been that they were a little worried about the car. Not entirely sure. On the screen in the Lamborghini, you can see that we are in a green flag zone.
We are indeed.
And that will change if you enter a yellow flag zone, or there's a red flag, or you're given a black and white flag for track limits. Race control will send those to each of the cars that is involved.
Plus full course yellow, and plus, and we'll explain this when we get into the race, the new for 2024 virtual safety car.
We may not explain it when we get into the race. It may not be needed. But you're right. So, yeah. So we have 3 options for race control to control. It will, yes.
I think Graham's going to explain it regardless. I think he's keen to explain it.
We have 4 options for race control to control the track and the cars for safety reasons. A full course yellow, where they all come down to 80 kilometers an hour, exactly where they are, and they tootle round for maybe a lap or so, then they're released so the race doesn't get interrupted. A virtual safety car, which is like a safety car but without an actual safety car, but also a bit like a full course yellow. So you all go down to 80 kilometers an hour.
You don't punch up.
But the pit lane is, so you're all at the same gaps around the track. The pit lane is open, so you can go in for fuel and rejoin, but then that will be followed by an actual safety car, which
is as it was.
Shoots the field up. And then the ultimate deterrent is a red flag.
8 minutes to go. This is just the out lap. So they've got to deliver. They've got to deliver now. It is Ian James, Ahmed El Harty, Thomas Fleur, Francois Heriot, James Cottingham, Tom Van Rompuy, Sarah Bovey, Alex Malikin, Josh Cagill and Clement Mathieu. And only 2 of 3 of those drivers, rather, Ian James, Ahmed El Harty and Sarah Bovey, 4, Thomas Fleur, were with us in the GT class last year. So it's some real new blood here. Vincent Voss and the Doctor. Yeah. Great shorts, Valentino. They'll be...
So he's rated as a silver driver, so that's why he's not out there doing the qualifying. I know there'll be a lot of Valentino Rossi fans out there wishing they could see him in this car that we see on screen now with the iconic number 46.
And we should explain that as we keep an eye on the form on track. Each of these cars has to have a non-professional bronze driver. They're the drivers of the car now. The next driver can be as high as silver and no higher. You can have another bronze if you want, but as high as silver, and there's free choice with the 3rd driver.
Yeah, so the 3rd driver could be Lewis Hamilton, but the other 2 have to be more humbly rated.
Unlikely to BMW, I think, offline.
No, in the class, I mean. Well, who would have thought he might turn up in a Ferrari in a couple of years? Final thoughts, if you're somehow enjoying this but would rather watch the cars without us twittering on, there's obviously the volume control, but you can be trackside when we get back to Europe. We're racing at Imola, we're racing at Spa-Francorchamps. Tickets for those races already on sale. Of course, Le Mans, I think there are still tickets available after the centenary, 2 years before it happens, sell out. And then we will start to race across the rest of the globe in the second half of the season after Le Mans. But yeah, Imola, if you've never been to Imola, I cannot recommend it heartily enough. Getting to Bologna is cheap as chips. You can't possibly have a bad meal, and it's a fabulous place to watch sports car racing.
You forgot the gelaterias, but I'll catch up with that later. But this is now going to be all about ultimate speed for these 10 drivers and these 10 cars. Aston Martin, BMW, Ferrari, McLaren, Corvette, Lamborghini and Porsche are all represented in this session.
Who's your money on?
The Astons look quick. Malikin looks quick in that Porsche, without a shadow of a doubt. Ahmed El Harty didn't quite get his lap together, but he's a great qualifier. Sarah Bovey was the serial tormentor for Ben Keating all season last year.
And let's not forget Ian James. He had a bit of a scruffy session, still ended up on top there. So I think if he can have a cleaner session in this Hyperpole qualifying, then I think it could be his day. We could be seeing him on pole position, but I'm yeah, I'm with you, Graham, in a way. I don't think that Sarah completely got the best out of her equipment there on that last run.
Should also say, by the way, the 85 car is under investigation for speeding on pit lane after that first session. Ahmed Al-Harti's gone through with the first sub-2 minute lap at the moment. Still 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, sorry, they were doing 1 minute 55s,
yeah,
of course. So a long way to go.
Already seeing those leaps of performance that we've been seeing in each of the sessions so far, with the top 2 cars in this session going a second quicker in the first sector than the previous laps.
And of course, it may not be that the tyres are fully worn through in one out lap. You may well want to have another lap to really have it under you. And we saw last year in all 3 categories that oftentimes the 3rd or possibly even the 4th lap was the best in qualifying on a tyre that needs that core temperature building up it, because they do come literally at air temperature. So even here, where the air temperature is near 30, that's still nowhere near. That's nowhere near where you need it to be to actually generate grip as a slick tyre. So Ahmed Al-Harti, purple sectors.
Yeah, pressing on.
Sarah Bovey, not far away either. So fingers crossed in the Iron Dames.
Michelle Gatting looking on. A quick smile before the tension takes over in the Iron Dames garage.
Now there's a driver lineup change in the Iron Dames in the World Endurance Championship. Rahel Frey's become part of their project management group for WEC and their development, but she's also stepped away from the driving seat here, and Dorian Pain is the 3rd member of that car. Rahel will race in ELMS.
Sarah goes to the top of the time is 1:55.721. What about in James? He does go top. 4/10 clear, 1:55.320, ahead of James Cottingham with a great lap there for the McLaren driver of United Autosports in the 59. That car numbered, of course.
Van Rompuy,
Corvette goes top.
Bosh.
So that is Lamborghini, then an Aston Martin, then a Corvette, as quickly as I could say those words.
Well, TF Sport got pole position thanks to the Aston Martin and Ahmed Al-Harti in Spa last year. Corvette had 5 pole positions in the season with Ben Keating.
Fleur goes second.
Wow, that's a great lap from Thomas Fleur.
Yeah, just lost a little bit in that final sector, didn't he? If he can get that right for the next lap, or if he takes a cool-down lap and goes for it later on with still almost 3 minutes to go of the session, he can really threaten pole position here.
Oldest driver of the field at 63 years old. Both he and Claudio Schiavone, both 63 years of age.
Well, I was going to make the point, you know, we saw James Cottingham, who was fastest in that first session, and he's in his early 30s, and he's racing a man who is his dad's age, literally his dad's age. So it's not about age, it's about your ability behind the wheel, what you've done, where you are perceived to be in the hierarchy of things. And so it's a great mix. And, you know, like in Hypercar, you've got young guys like Callum Eilert and Formula 1 world champions and racing head-to-head on equal terms. That's exactly the same here.
Al-Harti really pushing on in the second-to-last corner there at turn 15. I feel like he's just overdriving the car slightly. Maybe the occasion slightly getting the better of him at the moment.
At the moment, it's Tom Van Rompuy who's making the biggest inroads into his own session topping and provisional pole time. He's 3/10 up and in the final sector in the 81 Corvette.
Dorian Powers watching on there. This is her car. The Iron Dames of Sarah Bovey into turn 1 she goes.
Wow.
See an improvement here.
Yeah, he has indeed. 1:54.372.
Yeah.
8/10 clear now of Thomas Fleur with 1.5 minutes to go. Tom Van Rompuy, who saw that coming, the 81 from TF Sport.
And he found half a second on that lap. So, yeah, I mean, the Corvette is a brand new car, never raced before in WEC. The Corvette racing race with Ben Keating last year in GTE-AM. Totally different team, totally different car.
Yep.
So that's a very impressive run. And TF Sports have got lots of history with Aston Martin, none with Corvette. And I was thinking maybe Ahmed Al-Harti is trying to get the best out of the BMW that he's new to, the way he would have done with an Aston, and it's not working.
Great lap from Clement Mathieu. He goes 3rd quickest to the 777 car, so it is Corvette ahead of Ferrari, Aston Martin, and the second Aston Martin, then the Iron Dames Lamborghini, all within a second. That's another improved time. That is Alex Malikin. The Porsche goes second, but still 0.8 of a second off that effort from Tom Van Rompuy.
Right, let's take Van Rompuy out of it, and then look at the gap behind. 0.807, 0.810, 812, 0.94. I mean, yeah, the next 5 cars are just ridiculously tight, but Tom Van Rompuy, I'm really impressed with that, because he's been an LMP2 driver before, and converting to this must be quite different. Again, Ian James looking pretty strong.
And by the way, has not had a lot of time to test before coming here. Their test in Dubai was more or less washed out last month. They have, of course, been here for the prologue.
Yeah, Ian James, he's dropped it a little bit of time in the middle sector. And you can see on the bottom of the screen, almost 0.8 down by that point on the lap.
Yeah, he finishes the session 5th. It is going to be Tom Van Rompuy here. No one is, I'm just looking, Clement Mathieu on a quick lap, but a quarter of a second down on the base after the first sector. Tom Van Rompuy comes home, no improvement there. Alex Malikin, 0.6 down, not really recoverable, I think, in the final 2 sectors. Ahmed Al-Hati will be disappointed with this qualifying session, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I think we all expected a bit more from him. I think he did as well. And every time I saw him, it just looked like he was hustling the car a little bit too much. And a few mistakes were creeping in here and there.
Personal best first sector, though, coming from the Omani driver. Has he finally got what it takes in the car? Has he managed to find a little bit more balance?
I want to see more of the track being used. I want to see a bit better flow to it as well, and not too point and squirt. And yeah, that was a little bit better into turn 10 there as his team watches on. But he's done a good job anyway, just to be inside this top 10. That's the good thing about this Hyperpole, but he is improving.
He's the only one out there with a shot now. Monza Pure Racing's 92 car in the hands of Alex Malikin has crossed the line and has not improved. The 777 car of Clement Mathieu, great result for him on the second row here in 4th, but Ahmed Al-Hati, he's a second down. He can improve up the order here, maybe, but he's not going to be a threat for pole position. It is going to be TF Sports Tom Van Rompuy.
Yeah, it's a circuit where you really need to let it flow. You just, minimal steering inputs, keep it nice and smooth. And I was just seeing from Al-Hati, it's a little bit too erratic at some moments. And I think he'll get out of this one as he crosses the line now. Maybe a little bit disappointed. It could have been more, but a long race tomorrow.
Maxime Martin at the bottom of the picture, the tall figure on the right was Sean Gallale. He's driving the other BMW in the WRT team. But yeah, delight for Tom Van Rompuy. That's a really impressive debut. A qualifying system he's never used before, in a car he's never driven before.
And it's a great lineup.
Really impressed. Really
Rui Andrade, Charlie Eastwood as well. I mean, really accomplished drivers there. So they'll be chomping at the bit to get in the car tomorrow, show us what they can do with it.
And again, for Charlie, familiar with TF Sport, brand new to the Corvette, because he's been an Aston Martin driver over the last couple of years. Rui Andrade on the podium at Le Mans last year. So, yeah, there are all sorts of different combinations in that car, none of whom are A, Corvette drivers, B, really GT. I mean, Charlie Eastwood is, but the other two aren't GT experts.
No, well, but
they come from LMP2.
LMP2, and one of them was the champion from last season with Rui Andrade. So yeah, I mean, an amazing driver lineup, and that really sets the bar high, doesn't it, for the rest to follow? I mean, we saw Ben Keating do this quite often in the Corvette last year. A huge margin in qualifying over the others. That was a job well done.
Well, from nowhere, you have to say, in terms of the awareness of this grid about him, he emerges as the first ever pole setter in LMGT3.
Tom who? I think everybody is now aware who Tom who is. And maybe actually they need to get that on the roof of the car. Tom who? Because Tom Van Rompuy has taken pole position for Corvette. It's Corvette and Porsche 1-2, then Ferrari and Aston Martin, Aston and Lamborghini in 6th place. The 2 McLarens would be row 4 of the grid, ahead of the number 46 BMW and the 55 Vista AF Corsa Ferrari. So
that's Tom Ferrier congratulating his driver. So had Charlie Eastwood in shots, and
Rui.
very delighted. So that's one of last year's WC champions from LMP2, looking to double up and with a title in LMGT3. There's Tom.
And Tom is now sending them out because we need to get Tom Van Rompuy out with Louise Beckett, because there is now another new element of the whole Hyperpole and qualifying deal will become very apparent in just a moment, because Rolex are presenting medals to our Hyperpole winners. So he will be the very first recipient of a Rolex Hyperpole medal.
And it's really nice as the professional drivers when you see the bronze driver in your car crew get out there and deliver the result that you want. And because you've been there nurturing them along, and that's part of your duty as a pro driver that weekend, to be nurturing them along, because they are the backbone of your performance. If they do a good job, they tee you up for an excellent result. And there's no room for being selfish at all as the pro driver, because you know your result is going to come from them
100%.
Ultimately. And it's such a good feel-good factor to it, a very different element to anything else you ever experience as a pro racing driver.
Yeah, and to start as one of the pros with your car at the front of the field with the guy that you've only met like a week ago, that's a fantastic result. It's going to give them so much confidence in this new car.
Well, I'm with Tom Van Rompuy. Tom, congratulations on TF Sport. You did a great job in qualifying and especially in Hyperpole.
Thank you very much. It's a great teamwork we did. We improved the car the whole week. Also improved my driving thanks to these two amazing guys. So it's a great team effort. I'm very happy for my first WEC race to be on the pole. So I couldn't have dreamed of this.
Well done. Now, along with our new qualifying format this year, our partners Rolex have also decided to celebrate the pole by awarding medals. You didn't know that, did you, Charlie? He's very impressed. So we will have some medals to give to the pole sitters in each category. Of course, first it's for the Corvette team. And I'm going to step out of the way and let our president of the ACO, Pierre Fillon, award the medals. Of course, it's the first year that TF Sport are running the Corvette, so it's great for them, for the number 81, to get pole here in the first round.
Thank you very much.
And now it's time for Hyperpole in Hypercar.
Nicely done, really nicely done. So, yeah, another added little bonus, and again, for the gentlemen drivers, the bronze-rated drivers, who predominantly are often financially the driving force of the entry, but who, like everywhere else, you're as strong as your weakest link, and you are as fast as your slowest driver. And that, in endurance racing, is absolutely the key to the whole deal. And as you said, exactly as Tom echoed there, bringing your bronze driver, your silver driver even, a driver who's inexperienced in the rule format, at the circuit, in the car, whatever, that's so much a part of the pro driver's job. And he patted them on the back there, live on air, so congratulations.
10 cars and 10 places on the grid to be sorted, and it is 4 two-car teams. The two-car teams from Porsche Penske Motorsports, Hertz Team Jota, Ferrari AF Corsa and Peugeot TotalEnergies. All their cars are in as the green flag flies, plus the number 2 Cadillac, plus 1 and not 2 of the Toyota Gazoo Racing GR10s.
Yes, yeah, a little bit of a... And we might end up going back and seeing if we can find out whether they had a split tyre strategy on that, whether Brendan was on the 8s, because I just had Bruce Ioani in my ear. He's talked to the guys at Peugeot and said that they don't think they would have any chance of warming up a hard tyre in the 10 minutes allowed. So I wonder whether maybe somehow the number 7 Toyota did find temperature in it. I can't remember which car we saw early that's got the red sidebands on, that's got hards on. So the Peugeot clearly is saying, we can't do that, we will need to use the medium. It's going to be interesting. Let's hear from Nick de Vries, see what he's thinking.
Okay, Nick, I think we need to do out, warm, warm, push. Otherwise, we have only 2 push laps.
Yeah, so time management is critical here. The sun is starting to go down. You can see it's looking a little bit more golden out there. And the temperature, the track temperature is starting to fall, the air temperature as well. And that's critical for getting these harder tyres that the teams are choosing to run. It's a bit of a gamble. And this circuit is going to reward you, like Spa does in many ways, for running a harder construction. As you can just see there running on board with Nick really working the car, both on the way into the corner and the exit, the rear trying to desperately snap away from him. And that's because the surface of the tyre is cold. It makes the tyre much more rigid in its construction when it's cold, a bit like a squash ball. If you keep whacking it against the wall, it heats up a bit with that kinetic energy. It squashes and becomes malleable, and that creates a stickier surface to the ball, and that's exactly what's going on with these tyres. A higher speed track is going to work the shoulder of the tyre more, but so that's where a softer tyre is just going to start falling over itself, but it will warm up faster, and that's the conundrum they have. At what point, it's a bit like running a slick tyre on a damp circuit. If you can get temperature, it's going to reward you, pay you dividends in performance. Yeah. But on a softer tyre, you get the warm-up, you get that banker lap in. So that's the risk they're playing with right now.
Big wigglers. They got the power down at the final turn to start the first flying lap from Alex Lynn in the Cadillac there.
Yeah,
got it back under control. Away we go.
On board with Matt Campbell, so let's ride around this circuit. He's the first car in clear air, and so where's he going to make a difference?
Well, at the moment, the difference he's going to make is bringing these tyres in gently. You don't want to cause any extra graining. You can easily do that on the colder construction, on the colder surface of the tyre. If you start over sliding them, it's just going to start to open the tyres up a bit too much as you scratch them across the surface. So what he's doing here, and all the other drivers, they're driving gently, and they're trying to get temperature into the bulk of the tyre, so the body of the tyre, but not damage the surface of the tyre. That's the key here. So you can see he's not over pushing the tyres at all, and that's why we're not going to be really focusing on lap times initially. It's all going to come at the end of this session, particularly for the drivers and teams on those harder compound tyres.
One to watch, by the way, is the number 93 car, the hands of Jean-Eric Verne. It was the one car that did not come out with the other group. It waited and has got space ahead of it on track.
And that might, well, it means that there are fewer distractions. He's got room to go out and play, and what difference is 10 seconds going to make? They have obviously worked out the fact that if he does a certain amount of temperature building laps at a certain pace, then he will still get the same number in, and he'll be out of dirty air. And again, look, the number 7 car, this is the beginning of its second flying lap, and he's still weaving down the straight to get temperature.
Remember, we're looking at times just sub 140, and 148 is the best so far, so nowhere near the time it's going to see for pole position.
Giovinazzi is at it as well, weaving around on the straight. It's a good time to do that, get that energy to the shoulder of the tyre on the straight line. When you're at highest speed, you got the most downforce on the car at that speed, and it gives you a good opportunity to really lean on the tyres without scratching the surface of them. So that's what they're all playing at right now. With 5 minutes to go, their main concern still is getting the grip from the tyres they know they can get later on.
Anthony, how much do you compromise where you start on the grid for what you need in the race? Because you have to use these tyres. You have to use them. If they're medium, they're going to last less time. If they're hard, you qualify more slowly. Where's the payoff? Who makes that decision?
Well, it is a long race, like we know. It's 1,812 kilometers long, so we're thinking 335 laps for the race. So yes, it is very, very long, but it's incredibly hard to overtake in this hypercar category now. You haven't got DRS, you haven't got an overboost button from your battery pack, so they're all very limited to the same speed pretty much on the straights. Very, very hard to overtake, as we've seen last year as well, and there are more of them than ever before with 19 cars. So yeah, I think even if it's a longer race, getting your car into a high enough position on the grid, to a certain degree, will pay off in the race. You don't want to be stuck behind, unnecessarily low down the order and putting yourself under too much pressure on race day.
Well, we're not seeing him in the back of the garage at the moment, but Roger Penske is here, the ever-youthful 84-year-old boss of Penske Global Enterprises, and the figurehead behind that Porsche Penske team run out of their base in Germany, so very much a European base for this European arm, the World Endurance Championship arm, but they are top two. Toyota in third place ahead of the Peugeot.
And wherever you look on the timing screens, we've got our timing page here. I know you've got the lap times at the bottom as well, but the timer is alive, full of blues and purples. That means fastest and personal best sectors all across the board.
What we've got here is, I think, the final lap. You're going to see these lap times going down by seconds. Then it's about the tenths and the hundredths and the thousandths, and we've got 3 minutes to see that happening. At the moment, it is a Porsche Penske 1-2. Then it's Jean-Eric Verne.
You know what this is? This is the final 10 minutes of turbo era qualifying. Last man across the line gets pole, and it's how you back time that.
So you've got Matt Campbell, sorry Graham, Matt Campbell, 2 fastest sectors of all through the first and second sector as we ride on board with him now.
Nick de Vries going quicker in sector 2 in the number 7 Toyota, so he is closing in on that as well. We're running a clock on Kevin Est. Est is fastest, better than his previous lap, but neither sector better than his rivals.
So Matt Campbell comes up to the line. We're going to see him no doubt get right to the top. Yes, he does, but watch the black car in the distance. That's Nick de Vries. He grabbed that fastest middle sector from Campbell.
And Estra went back on top, and de Vries goes back on top.
Wow.
It is last man across the line. It's the pole man. They've got one more hot lap.
Quicker than all of them at the moment. Through sector 1 was Jean-Eric Verne. He's dropped a bit in sector 2 there. Antonio Giovinazzi going well. Callum Elliott goes to the top for Hertz Team Jota. It is a 1:39.685, 2 thousandths of a second ahead.
You said it would come down to thousandths.
Wiped the floor with the Toyota by a whole 2 thousandths. It could have been 1. He just gave himself more margin necessary. Great lap from Callum Elliott.
But this is brilliant riding on board with Nick de Vries here. What's he going to be as he gets through the first sector? So Matt Campbell has gone fastest overall in the first sector. He's on another flyer. Kevin Estra, no, his first sector's not great. He's got maybe another lap to do this with 1.5 minutes still remaining.
Jenson Button down in 9th out of the 10. And again, you know, for these young drivers, the Matt Campbells, the Callum Eilidts, and whatever, you've got a Formula 1 world champion to judge yourself against in absolute head-to-head qualifying.
Under a minute and a half to go, and 6 of the 10 cars are on course to better the current provisional pole.
Wow. 3 will be investigated for procedures between qualifying and hyperpole, and they are the number 12 Hertz Team Jota, the 38 Hertz Team Jota, and the 55 car. But Matt Campbell is not
well
one of those.
Well up, fastest in both first and second sectors. Surely this is going to see him on top. Yes, it does. He topples Callum Eilott's amazing lap time, 39.6, just a 10.5 faster. Nick de Vries behind, he's on a personal best too, and he goes on top. Amazing stuff between these two brilliant drivers, but others are involved as well, of course. Callum Eilott, behind these two on track, he's set 2 personal bests.
On a better lap, but not a not a purple lap, so...
Eilott stays P3.
Improves, but stays P3.
It was that last sector which didn't go his way.
1/10 of a second between the top 3. 20 seconds to go before we see the checkered flag. Then it'll be the lap there on and no more. Up on the provisional pole, though, is Matt Campbell. He's going almost a 10.5 quicker in the first sector, as the checkered flag will be out in just 3, 2, 1 seconds. Through goes Verne. He's got another go at this.
Yeah,
just about. That was good timing from the Peugeot squad. And look at Nick de Vries. This is important. He hasn't set a personal best in the first sector. So what can Matt Campbell do?
Really
We're riding on board with him now. Right, here we go. We've just come out of turn 10. Is this up to 12? Yes, it is. The fastest right-hander on the track. What's it going to be as he comes up to the second sector? Oh, he's well up still. Another fastest sector of all.
This is a blistering lap from Matt Campbell.
Nice
into the penultimate corner.
A little bit of gravel on track, but it hasn't bothered him.
All about this final corner now, Matt Campbell. What can you do? It's been an amazing lap so far. Little bit of understeer mid-corner, keeps it nicely within track limits on the exit. That final run down to the start-finish straight. What's it going to be as he crosses the line? It is pole position for now. If there's anyone else behind him on track, De Vries is coming through, but he's not on a best lap.
Callum Eilert's got another quick lap going. Kevin Ashton potentially, but I don't think it's going to amount to much. Across the line, Alex Lynn does not improve. They'll be no worse than 7th. Kobayashi
He looks okay with that one.
Yeah,
I don't think they were expecting that.
Well, so they claim. The de facto benchmark in WEC Hypercar, and they weren't expecting potentially to earn a point. I don't think that's going to happen. But Porsche, with Matt Campbell, the Penske Porsche Motorsport team, have grabbed themselves the first Hyperpole of the FIA WEC.
And that's what it means to the man. Look at that. Well, and that was a brilliant job from him. Matt Campbell really showed the way.
3 different cars and 4 different teams in the top 4 places on that grid.
Now, 5 of our hypercars, not all of them here, because one of them didn't make it through into Hyperpole, are going to be investigated for refueling procedures between qualifying and Hyperpole. Now, I don't know what that means in terms of the end result. One of them was not the number 5 car of Matt Campbell. 2 of them, unfortunately, I think were the Hertz Team Jota cars, 12 and 38. So we will wait to see what happens with that. Obviously, it's a brand new system. Be very, very surprised if Jota have not read the rule book properly. That would seem to be hugely unlikely, but sometimes things do happen.
Well, it seems that the pace from the prologue and from free practice that's been shown by Porsche has been translated into qualifying pace. And
it really has. We all knew the pace, the potential pace of the Porsche. You see on the graphics on screen there, sitting on top, just over 1/10.5 faster than the Toyota. But that, for me, I know it sounds ironic, but the Toyota, that was the surprise of the qualifying session. We'd seen this potential from the Porsche Penske team all the way through FP1, 2 and 3, but not so much from Toyota. So I think that was a good job by Nick De Vries, and a great performance for his first run with Toyota.
Norminato and the guys in the Hertz Team Jota garage. Number 12 on the car. 38 is a traditional Jota number. Number 12 on the car is the shirt number for NFL quarterback Tom Brady, who is one of the sponsors of the team.
And he would be thrilled for me mentioning, so I will. So Jake Yorath from the UK, responsible for the typeface on those numbers.
Good boy.
And of course, Jota using the same platform as the car we're looking at on screen at the moment, the Porsche. I think they've done a phenomenal effort through the winter just to, like we say, you can't do anything with the aerodynamics on these cars. That's locked in as
there's the captain.
The captain. Roger Penske watches on, and that, I mean, this is what we expected from that team last year. But it just goes to show how tough the competition is. What a bar that had been set by Toyota and Ferrari in many ways. So yeah, he's well happy with this one.
He's looking a little less miffed than he did quite often last year, didn't he? Yeah, he understands motor racing. He was a racing driver himself. He's run teams successfully for half a century, so he understands motor racing. But what they didn't understand was, how can those guys be doing it and we're not? And that was the big deal last year. What was the one word we didn't say at all in Hyperpole? Begins with a F.
Yeah, well, we did. Well, we mentioned them, but not in any way, shape or form regards to challenging the front, challenging pole position.
6/10 off, by the way, the first of the Ferraris in that session. Antonio Fuoco.
Well, there is Matt
4th.
Campbell.
But what did they struggle with all the way through last year?
Qualifying
tyre warm-up.
Yep.
They were pushed to run in some ways softer tyres quite often because they knew they couldn't. Remember Spa? They had to start on the wet tyres.
Yep.
Well, we talked about a whole lot of new, didn't we, gentlemen, in this championship this year? And here's another new one. It's the first Hypercar pole for Porsche.
Yes, and for Matt Campbell. They saw Fred Makovici, Michael Christensen, his 2 teammates. And yeah, lining themselves up to have a quick chat with Louise Beckett.
Penske, you put a great run in qualifying, fastest, and then a superb lap there at the end in Hyperpole.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, fantastic to get our first ever overall pole position in WEC for our 963. We've really had a strong performance all weekend, and you know, made some really good tuning towards qualifying, and it's really paid off. So a big thanks to our engineering crew. You know, I struggled a little bit yesterday doing our quali simulation, and also this morning, and we really turned it around. So yeah, starting from pole position, really important here at Qatar for the track position, and yeah, looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, so are we. I'm going to step out the way so you can receive your Rolex medals from Pierre Fillon, who's here just to present them to you. What a lap it was for Matt Campbell. Fred Mako also getting a medal, and Michael Christensen. They are the pole crew to start the race tomorrow here at Qatar. And so join us tomorrow. We start 10:30. We're on air local time for the race here in Qatar. 11 o'clock the race will start, and it's round one of what is set to be a fantastic season.